What is up, DTube, Steam blockchain? So today I want to talk a little bit about sandcastle platforms. And I also want to talk about DPOS governance and, thought control and moving forward. One thing, when I sort of got banned from Twitter, or like restricted, what that kind of made me realize is something that I already knew, of course, but I got reminded about it, and that was the aspect of urgency and like moving forward and scale. And again, try to focus on like what is productive. What is the most productive thing humans can do to sort of move forward? And yeah, so let's talk a little bit about the sandcastle platforms. What is a sandcastle platform? Well, if you ask me, a lot of these centralized platforms, they are what I would like to call sandcastle platforms, where you don't know if someone will like restrict you or like ban you the next day. It's like you never know. Like it can happen at any time, and that basically means that all that you ever did on that platform is like gone forever. Gone forever. So all these platforms, centralized platforms, you're kind of scared almost to tell the name of those platforms because it's like you don't know. Um, you don't know if they're gonna restrict you the next second. And this is something that happens to a lot of people, or like they get shadow banned or removed. It's like I call it sandcastle platforms because it's almost inevitable that eventually, if you have even if you think daily, uh, you're gonna think a lot and you're gonna say a lot. And it's like if you say a single thing that someone may misrepresent or something like that, your account can be like gone forever. It can be restricted, it can be gone forever, and usually it's very hard to get it back. Very, very, very hard. So people are kind of in a position here where it's like, oh, when they realize the seriousness of this situation, with like how bad it can become, like if you just let private companies grow so huge that they become utilities, and it becomes like the town hall or like the town square, the town meeting where people are meeting each other. If they're becoming a utility like that, and they can sort of restrict who can talk and who can't talk. It is a brave new world, 1984, Aldous Huxley or whatever he now was called. It really is. It's scary, uh, and it's like, yeah, it's really scary to be honest. Like, you can't really say anything, or like, it's like billion-dollar companies. And it is like what I think humans can do is try to build their own value system and try to do some DPOS thing. But even that is like, it takes a lot. Getting people engaged, getting people to understand things, getting people to care, and getting people to kind of be loyal to something or like try something out. That takes a lot. And it's like, so DPOS governance. So why I'm so passionate about like Steam blockchain is because I don't see any other thing that is like close to be able to compete with these sandcastle platforms. But Steam has something, okay? Tokens and like DPoS governance, it like makes people think more, makes people try to expand their borders of ignorance, makes people realize digital governance, like what it is, and it makes people to care a little bit more, and it makes people try new technology. It makes people experiment with tokens. I don't see any other thing doing that right now. It's only like Steam blockchain and the Steam community that is kind of exploring this new technology that we have here that we can play around with. And we see the seriousness going down when the networks gets attacked basically. It's like the whole Steam community see it, and they see how it affects everyone. People see how important it is to vote for witnesses, and they see that everything can be taken away so fast. Stuff can really change fast. So I did not like I voted for a few witnesses before, and now I have set they call me Dan as a proxy because I see how passionate he is. And he basically talked about, okay, you can set him as a proxy and he can like vote for you. And yeah, you see like you really, really see how scary it can be, like how quickly a network can be taken over. And it's like people have to start, I think, somewhere. Like DPOS may not be perfect, but humans have to sort of start trying to do something that is kind of evolving away from sandcastle platforms. Because sandcastle platforms, where people are posting something and it's gone the next second, it's or like they post something for many, many years and then one day it's like fully gone. It doesn't exist anymore. Like that's very scary. It's super scary. Like when people, I think people are spending like 30% of their life now on the internet, like 30% of their time. And if that is on a sandcastle platform, it's kind of scary, to be honest. It's very, very scary, uh, especially when you realize like the whole foundation of the internet is running on this like humans have barely invested in like good infrastructure, and the only way it keeps on running is probably from VC money and a lot of these big companies. But it's like it is really, I would really call it sandcastles. and and yeah, I mean, I think people are starting to realize that a little bit more, even though Steam community is quite small at the moment compared to how many billions of people they're using all these other systems. It's nice that people are starting to care a little bit, because if people do not start to care, like at least try a little bit, like do some small thing per day or something, try to be involved like a tiny bit. If they're not doing that, it's kind of scary what else we will have eventually. Probably have no choice, right? So yeah, sandcastle platforms. We kind of stuck with them. But people can make a choice, conscious choice, to try to use better stuff like Steam. And I'm not sure what's gonna happen with all this like witness situation at the moment. It's really like this is like the biggest test of DPOS ever. And I mean, clearly it's going to be some kind of outcome eventually is going to come out of this. Is it going to be a fork? I don't know. How is the community going to react to that? I don't really know. How are witnesses going to behave? I don't know. This can play out in so many ways. People will learn a lot because there's a lot of eyes now on all of this. So people are gonna learn so much from seeing how this will play out, and we have no clue how it will like play out. And the last thing I want to talk a little bit about is like, the scary aspect of with sandcastle platforms. It is kind of scary eventually, because it seems like eventually they're just gonna move more towards thought control, where it seems like if you keep push it, eventually you won't be able to say anything eventually. It's like having a thought will not be allowed. It's kind of scary, to be honest, because it's like everyone has like thoughts and they pop up and they go away. But in written form, it looks like it looks, I don't know, it looks like, if you put out the thought there, people many times 100% take it like literally, while there's usually way more context you need to have. uh, to understand something. So, for example, many times people take everything they see like 100% dead serious, and it's like they don't understand that jokes exist and stuff like that. And when you put stuff in written form, also, it can many times look like super dead serious. So you get so many like misunderstandings and things, but at the same time you see how important it is. Even though this is sandcastle platforms, it is like super important to have access to them. Is really scary how, someone is making decisions, right? Like, okay, ban this, remove this. And I know that they probably are trying to do their best, I really hope that they try to do their best. But eventually it's like, if you just keep on implementing rules and rules and rules and don't allow a community themselves to govern themselves, it seems like it's going to be kind of oppressive eventually. Mm. So what I like about, for example, DPOS is you're giving tokens around, and it's real. Like, the tokens are real. Like, people are making a decision about where they want to share a little bit of value around, and I think that kind of makes people a little bit more woke and a little bit more conscious about, what governance is about, and like trying to make a system where people can thrive in. And yeah, so sandcastle platforms. I think a big part about like some sandcastle platforms are, what I think that it's good is that they're trying to make it a little bit more inclusive. How you can like reshare a lot of stuff. I think really that's the future. Like, some sandcastle platforms, they are more focused on you being some independent person that's doing everything yourself. So very much survival of the fittest. While more and more platforms are trying to, even sandcastle platforms, some of them are trying to move more into this share aspect, that the main value is in the sharing and the curation aspect. And I think this is a big aspect also that I think DTube is making right, like the share aspect, that you can also share other people's videos. I'm not 100% sure about like the perfect game theory with this, because you can do it in many ways. Um, because you probably don't want to have a system where it becomes like super spammy and so on. So people basically have to experiment with like how people are using a technology and like what may be the best way of doing things. And so yeah, uh, I'm still kind of concerned about like many many systems for verifying an identity are using like phone numbers, even though nobody ever calls anyone these days. So it's like, it really is like, it's weird. It's weird that you need a phone number for a lot of stuff. You need like these these digits for be a so-called verified person, but it's like super weird. Like, a phone number, it doesn't really say anything. You should be able to buy an account, just as you can have account with Steam. Like, you can buy a Steam account. Like, it's weird to kind of involve phone numbers in things. And there's just so many exchanges and like so many platforms that view phone numbers as some ultimate authority. And then you also, on top of that, you have all of these hacks that has happened with phone numbers, SIM swapping, and all of this nonsense. It's like, I really think systems should try to move away from having that thing, because I don't really think phone numbers, it's security theater for me personally, because I don't really understand it. It makes no sense that you get this that you need to depend on some operator, some mobile operator, to send you some digits. And if that operator doesn't like you, or if it's hard to get a phone number from them, it's like you kind of locked out on from a lot of systems. So it's like a huge problem. Like, when people need these codes to verify things, You go and see on the internet, and you see a bunch of these virtual phone numbers that people are using just because they need a code for 2 seconds, and it's just pure nonsense. People shouldn't need this, like this physical SIM card to do stuff. It makes no sense whatsoever. And yeah, it's not safe at all. uh and it's just weird, all these, like, I've been considering these like walled gardens. You have like platforms that can't launch just because you are in some physical location. And like, what does the physical world have to do with the virtual world? Like, it really makes no sense. So yeah, a lot of these like regulatory stuff and like nonsense, it's really like slowing down innovation, and it's really like slowing it down super super much, because a lot of stuff can't really launch because they need to like apply to all of these other nonsense things. uh so that's a little bit what has been on my mind. I think stuff is moving forward eventually. Mm, and imagine when you have easy adoption to some tokenized system, and you have like an amazing exchange to some trustless thing. Oh wow, that can really be interesting to see. I mean, at the moment, crypto has been here for 10 years, and the biggest the so-called decentralized apps at the moment, they barely have 1,000 users, probably more like 500 users. Okay, some maybe 3,000 max. But I mean, how many people are we on this planet? Soon 8 billion humans, right? So in 10 years, like the adoption is so small, it's so petty. And it's mainly, I would say, because of the all this like regulatory nonsense and people spreading ignorance. And also people that have no idea what they're doing, like that they're starting all these weird businesses, or like use greedy people, they're like involved first in the business just because they want to make money. Then you have all these like the amazing like developer community, developer scene, but usually developers don't have that much money, so they kind of have to crowdfund and like gather money themselves. So there is a lot of lack of value flowing into this space. Like, yeah, we had the 2017 ICO boom, but most of that turned out to be frauds. They just like ran away with the money, or wasn't competent, or some other nonsense. So I think that kind of scared away a lot of investors for a long, long time. Eventually, it seemed like something really needs to make this space grow. Something, we're seeing some small things that are really starting to work, some cool smart contracts here and there, some cool apps here and there, but it's really like a slow gradual shift that is happening. And when I got involved 2018, I really thought it would go a little bit faster, to be honest, because it had a lot of momentum there. It had a lot of momentum there for some time, mainly because the price was so high and like so many people came into the space. But then it really lost a lot of momentum. And some things that I think can really speed up the momentum is the development of amazing smartphones now. I mean, they're really getting amazing. It's a Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultra comes there. It's a 16 gigabyte RAM edition, and it has 512 gigabytes of internal storage, including, I think you can put in either 1 terabyte or like 2 terabyte storage from SanDisk, I think. Maybe just 1 terabyte. But then that's like 1 to 2 terabyte in a phone. In theory, you can have plus 16 gigs of RAM. I mean, there's a lot of juice. Eventually, it seems like, I mean, my personal experience, right now, I'm recording this video with the Galaxy Note 10 Plus, which is just so overpowered and amazing phone. And my personal experience is And like it's like super weird. So you get this like super overpowered phone, and then the only apps that exist is like centralized apps. Like it's like buying a Ferrari or like a Lamborghini and having to drive like 5 miles per hour or something like that. It's really strange. Like you can feel the amazing hardware inside of these smartphones, but you can't really drive it because most of the apps and most of the what people have spent energy on is building these centralized apps where you're barely even using the hardware capability that has so much more potential, and there's so many interesting ways you can use the hardware in these new smartphones to do amazing stuff. So we're starting to have the amazing hardware. You just need so much more development, so much money flow into the space of building true D apps, true decentralized token systems, true privacy systems. We have a lot of interesting stuff going on with Ethereum, and my personal experience with, for example, Bitcoin, Litecoin, and Ethereum is that they're sort of starting to become dumb pipes to moving value to where you really want it. So, for example, when I played EOS Dynasty, my personal experience was I wanted the TKT tokens so I can get the US divs, and you know I saw a lot of utility in the TKT tokens, so I just use EOS token as a dumb pipe to move value from EOS Dynasty in and out. So I think that that's how many things are gonna go into that direction. For example, I don't know why, but when I'm looking at a lot of exchanges, they have a super low withdrawal fee for Litecoin, and it's very expensive on Bitcoin and Ethereum. So it's like, okay, let's use the dumb pipe called Litecoin to move value around. Just because it has the lower withdrawal fee from a lot of centralized exchanges, while Ethereum like $1 or $2, EOS usually $1 or something like that. Bitcoin like $5 just to withdraw. Uh, yeah, it seems like all these legacy first generation blockchain based systems, it seems like they're mainly being used as dumb pipes to move eventually to what people really want. For example, now we have this interesting thing with Ethereum, these Sorare cards or Sorare ETH football cards. I can see people moving value to that and just using Ethereum as a dumb pipe to get those rare cards, you know. So I think there's a world of possibility here eventually with tokens when people when they move value to something that you truly want. So at the moment, mainly many of these big legacy blockchains and tokens, they're mainly just used to move value around and try to experiment a little bit here and there. And it seems like eventually some DApps and some tokens are really going to take off because they're really finding something that works. Maybe they fix advertising. Maybe they find ways to increase demand. It's like it can play out in so many ways, you know? So yeah, that's what I want to talk a little bit about today. Mainly sandcastle platforms. People should be aware of that aspect about it. And it's like, you know, it's strange. It's very weird. But again, I mean, these platforms launched also around 2005, around 2010, when that technology then was kind of cool. Then okay, it's like you can post a photo on the internet using this, or you can write a cool message here. They were kind of cool 10 years ago, these platforms, a lot of them, but now they're not really that cool. They haven't really made that much in the last 10 years. And it seems like a lot of other things are trying to evolve and trying to do new things with tokens and blockchains, and just trying to experiment with DPOS, with governance, trying to get people a little bit more engaged in whatever now it is that they're doing. So I enjoy systems that try to engage people more, and also that's why I'm doing videos also, because I think that video, the so-called video or the medium video, I think it's amazing. It's amazing to put messages out there, and also it's a pretty great experience for the viewer. And I love watching a lot of long videos because I want to know cool stuff. so so I watch, for example, I watch a lot of YouTubers that makes amazing long videos. I'd rather watch that instead of a movie because it's more niche based. I like that kind of content, and I can go to the niche based content that I really love, and I find a lot of enjoyment in like watching specific YouTubers and seeing people talk about something that they're highly competent in. So that is what I want to talk a little bit about today. Hopefully enjoyed. Have a great day, video. Have a great day, YouTubers and Steamians. Bye bye.